The sky was a tapestry of shifting colors, from blush pinks to deep, fiery oranges. It was the kind of sunset that felt as though it had been painted specifically for this evening. Alex and Sarah walked along the beach, their silhouettes dark against the glow of the setting sun. It was their first date, a moment both of them had anticipated with excitement and a touch of nervousness. They had been friends for years, meeting through mutual friends in college. They had shared countless laughs, late-night talks, and even a few inside jokes, yet neither had ever taken the step to turn their friendship into something more. Tonight, though, everything felt different. There was a quiet, gentle electricity between them that neither could ignore. Sarah had chosen to wear a simple summer dress, her hair catching the breeze as they walked. She looked radiant, and Alex couldn't help but notice how the colors of the sunset seemed to wrap around her, making her look almost ethereal. Sarah, on the other hand, was struck by how comfortable she felt around Alex. Even though they had been friends for so long, tonight he seemed to have a new aura, confident and calm, yet somehow mysterious. They walked side by side, the soft sand cushioning their steps as they listened to the gentle crashing of the waves. The air was filled with the smell of salt and the distant laughter of other beachgoers. There was a warmth between them that went beyond friendship, an energy that seemed to grow stronger with each passing moment. But just as much as they both wanted to express their feelings, there was a silent understanding that words weren't needed right now. The sunset seemed to speak for them. As they reached a quieter part of the beach, Alex found a spot to sit down. He glanced at Sarah, who nodded, and they both sank into the cool sand, watching the sky shift through its breathtaking colors. "I've always loved sunsets," Sarah murmured, almost as if to herself. "There's something so peaceful about watching the day slowly slip away. It's like a quiet goodbye to all the chaos, and an invitation to reflect." Alex looked at her, captivated by the softness in her voice. "I know what you mean. It feels like the world just pauses for a moment," he said, his eyes still on her rather than the sunset. "And in that pause, everything feels clearer." He shifted closer to her, his shoulder gently brushing against hers. For a moment, they simply sat in silence, feeling the warmth of each other's presence. Their conversation drifted from one topic to another, flowing as effortlessly as the waves that lapped the shore. They talked about their dreams, their fears, and their families. Sarah shared stories from her childhood, describing how she used to come to the beach with her family every summer. "My dad would build these huge sandcastles with me and my sister," she recalled, laughing. "He'd spend hours making them look perfect, only for the waves to wash them away by morning." Alex laughed along with her, picturing her as a child, wide-eyed and innocent, racing along the shoreline. He told her about his own childhood, about how he would often sneak out to watch the stars from his backyard, dreaming of all the places he wanted to see one day. "I used to think the world was this huge, unreachable place," he admitted. "But now it doesn't feel so big anymore. I think it's the people you meet that make it feel like home, wherever you are." Sarah looked at him, her gaze softening. She felt a flutter in her chest, a feeling she had tried to push away so many times in the past but couldn't ignore tonight. She reached out and lightly touched his hand, her fingers brushing over his in a gesture that spoke volumes. Alex's heart skipped a beat, but he didn't pull away. Instead, he intertwined his fingers with hers, holding her hand gently yet firmly. The sun was now a red-orange orb sinking lower, casting a radiant glow that bathed them in a warm light. Sarah took a deep breath, gathering her courage. I think I've always felt this way about you, Alex," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I was afraid that saying it out loud would change things between us." Alex turned to her, a look of surprise mixed with understanding on his face. "I've felt the same," he replied, his voice steady. "I kept convincing myself that we were just friends, that I didn't want to risk losing you. But now, being here with you, I can't imagine not telling you how I feel." They both fell silent, letting his words hang in the air as the last rays of sunlight stretched across the sky. The world around them seemed to fade, leaving just the two of them in a bubble of tranquility. Alex gently placed his hand on her cheek, his thumb tracing small circles as he looked into her eyes. Sarah felt her heart race, her nerves dissolving into a sense of calm as she leaned into his touch. Slowly, Alex leaned forward, closing the small gap between them, his lips brushing against hers in a tender, gentle kiss. It was a kiss that held years of unspoken feelings, a culmination of moments they had both cherished in silence. As they pulled away, Sarah felt a smile tug at her lips, and she rested her forehead against his, feeling more at peace than she had in a long time. They watched as the last sliver of the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a sky speckled with stars. In that quiet, starlit moment, they both knew that this was the beginning of something beautiful. The sunset date had not only marked a new chapter in their relationship, but had also brought a deeper understanding of what they meant to each other. As they sat there, their hands still entwined, they talked about the future, about all the adventures they wanted to share. They imagined more sunset dates, weekend getaways, and spontaneous road trips. They dreamed about building a life together, one filled with laughter, love, and countless sunsets. Eventually, the beach grew quieter as the night deepened, the waves becoming a soothing backdrop to their whispered promises. Alex wrapped his arm around Sarah, pulling her close as they watched the stars come to life above them. They stayed like that for hours, talking, laughing, and dreaming until they were the only two left on the beach, their hearts finally unburdened of the words they had held onto for so long. In the weeks and months that followed, Alex and Sarah returned to that beach many times, each sunset a reminder of the beginning of their story. And as the years passed, their love grew, shaped by the countless sunsets they shared and the promise they had made to each other that very first night, to always be each other's peace, each other's home. Their sunset date had been more than a moment. It had been the start of a lifetime written in the colors of the evening sky.